Thank you. First, I want to start off by talking a little bit about mayoral control and how, number one, it really shouldn't be in the budget. We should be doing it outside the budget. It doesn't expire until June. There's no reason why we should have an important policy subject like the extension of mayoral control in our budget or this budget resolution. There are so many issues that need to be addressed when we look at the New York City Department of Education, whether it be the Renewal Schools program, which just basically flushed $773 million down the toilet, whether it be the lucrative contracts with the vendors, high-priced consultants making roughly $14,000 a day, the idea that teachers, who they all come here and tell us every year that they have to pay for their own supplies, and that some students are still actually being taught in trailers. I think also the issue of pre-K, and when the mayor and the governor say universal pre-K or pre-K for all, when there aren't seats for our special needs students, that means it's not pre-K for all. These are all issues that need to be addressed. In fact, I'm going to take the liberty of pointing out that it's not just me that's been saying this, it's actually nearly every media outlet in the city of New York. So I'm going to read headlines from the CBS, New York Post, Daily News, New York Times that have all said the same thing, pointing out the absolute deterioration of our New York City public school system. So demanding answers, moldy pizza, chicken with metal pieces turn up in New York City school cafeterias. City set to give $250,000 school contract to vendor with questionable record. Amid contaminated school food complaints, documents show DOE exec took trips paid for by food makers. New York City school officials blew millions in travel expenses. Under de Blasio's Renewal Schools program, consultants win, kids lose. De Blasio's questionable school consultant cost taxpayers millions. DOE fails to track payments in $101 million leadership contracts. City's Renewal Schools program costs big bucks but shows few results. Education officials recklessly spent funds on lavish vacations. Audit finds Education Department wasted millions on travel expenses. And lastly, from the New York Times, New York knew some schools in its $773 million plan were likely to fail, but it kept children in them anyway. We, as a legislature that gives $11 billion to schools, New York City schools, have the fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers to know how the money is being spent. And we have a moral obligation to the students of the city of New York to make sure that that money is getting into the classroom where it belongs. So I think it's unconscionable that we would just rubber stamp another 3-year extension of mayoral control without having hearings first to get answers to all these awful, exposing articles that have been coming forward in the last 2 years. On the issue of property taxes, I noticed that the majority did not include a property tax cap, and I ask that you please keep in mind that New York City also needs property tax relief if a property tax cap is implemented in the budget. The governor says, no property tax cap, no budget deal. Well, I hope he means no property tax cap, no budget deal. That means for all of New York, because certainly if we're going to adopt a property tax cap for the entire state and leave out the city of New York, that has seen a 44% increase in the property tax levy that has led to so many of our middle-class families leaving the city, leaving so many storefronts in all our districts empty because of the high rents, leaving renters to say that New York City is unaffordable. We need and deserve a property tax as well, and I am very reluctant to support any budget that does not support a property or does not include New York City in the property tax cap. I notice also that there is a provision in here that would say we would increase the taxes on individuals' second homes that are of value $5 million or more. I'm not opposed to that, but what I didn't see in here was that that was going to offset the lower and middle income families in New York City that have seen their property taxes skyrocket. So we're not going to do anything to provide any relief for those families in my district and many of your districts all across the city that are struggling with these astronomical property tax bills that have increased over the years. So those are the two things I'm going to be looking for when we get to the final budget. On the DREAM Act, once again, this House has decided to provide free college, tuition assistance for those who are in our country illegally, and I brought it up during the DREAM Act debate earlier this year. We've got to restore it for graduate students. We've got to increase the household income eligibility for our middle-class families. It's been stagnant at $80,000 household income since the year 2000. So what are we telling the people of this state? If you're a graduate student, you get absolutely no assistance, absolutely none. If you are a family with a household income of $81,000, you get absolutely no tuition assistance. But if you're in the country unlawfully and you are even here just for 30 days, as another colleague pointed out during that debate, you could be from any state in the union, you could be from any country, you could be here for 30 days, take the GED and qualify for the tuition assistance program. That makes absolutely no sense at all. I just want to finally say, this is a $175 billion budget. We increased taxes in this budget, well, you increased taxes in this budget, by $5.7 billion, and yet we have the audacity to cut from our veterans, to cut $4.8 million, the little money that they get to begin with for peer-to-peer counseling, mental health support, for their programs. Really? Really? You're going to increase the budget that much and then increase taxes another $5.8 billion, and then you're actually going to cut from the veterans? We wouldn't be sitting here as elected officials if it wasn't for our veterans. So I really ask you to reconsider that, and those are the things I'm going to be looking forward as we move forward in the final budget. Thank you all.